Hey guys, welcome to the Editing Bard, the channel that brings you writing tips that make sense. Today we're going to be talking about how to hire an editor, where you can find them, and kind of some of the other things that you should be taking into consideration when you do. Guys, thank you so much for joining me on today's video and joining this channel. If you're new here, welcome. I am Steven, I'm the Editing Bard, and if you like writing tips that make sense, then you want to make sure that you go down, hit that little subscribe button and the bell notification icon so that way you get updated on when I upload videos, which is every other Friday. Now then, diving into what our conversation is going to be about today, we're going to look at how to hire a professional editor that you can trust. That is the key thing here, is someone that you can trust, someone that you relate well with, and someone who's going to help you really enhance your book. Because that is what a good editor is going to look to do. They're not going to look at trying to change your voice. They're not going to change the book. What they're going to do is they're going to help enhance what you already have and really bring out the story that you have to tell. There's a couple of places that you can search for when it comes to looking for an editor. Before we get there, I want to make sure that you understand what level of editing that you need to do and when you need to do it. My personal recommendation is that after you have finished your first draft, you've set it down and you've read through it, because you haven't written anything, you haven't done any editing yet. You sit it down, read through it, and go, okay, here are some of the things that I think are issues and that I may want to change. Then I recommend getting a developmental editor for your story. It varies from editor to editor what their personal opinion is on it. This one is mine, so it's not a hard and fast rule. But the people that I have worked with that have brought me their first drafts have created stronger second drafts that time around. And it's cut an extra step out of their process, which means that they're able to get their books finished sooner. Now, if you have gone through that and you've done a self-developmental edit, I still would recommend that you get a professional developmental edit done. If you don't want to do that and you want to move on to the next stage, then you're going to be looking at doing some sort of copy or line edit, kind of depending on what it is that you're needing. That will range widely from editor to editor, so make sure you understand what it is that you're looking for. Are you looking for the context, the content, what is kind of happening in the paragraph structure, or are you looking for a line edit? Something that is going to be more detailed, that's going to focus more on the syntax, the way the sentences are structured, all of that. You want to make sure you understand where you're at in the editing process before you go and hire somebody. And you can ask around, ask on Twitter, ask in Facebook groups, sometimes even asking editors. There's a lot of editors that you can talk to on Twitter. So ask them like, hey, this is where I'm at. Most of them are probably going to be willing to at least give you some insight of like, oh yeah, this is probably what level you're at. So make sure that you do that before you go and spend your money. Okay, now we're going to go through some of the places that you can hire an editor, some places that you can find editors, and the first one is going to be Fiverr. So let's go. So we are now on Fiverr and I have already set up a search. As you can see up here, I looked for a developmental editor because, as always, that is where I'm going to recommend you start. Now you have some options with whether you want pro services, which means that they are vetted professionals. They have typically been on Fiverr for a period of time. They've had a certain number of criteria that they have met, such as 5-star reviews or an average of 4.8 stars over those reviews. They've done so many gigs. Those are the kinds of things. So if you want to do that, if you want to make sure that you're getting a vetted professional, you're going to pay for it in terms of the cost, but you can toggle that button right there, and that's going to help you. Now, if you are working on a budget, you can simply do it by what your minimum amount is and what your max is. Now, when it comes to Fiverr, you have to understand that there are people on here who are professionals. They do really, really good work. And there's also people who are kind of scammy, and kind of in between there are the new editors that are like, I really want to get into editing and I need to build some cred before I can actually launch into my own freelance business. You're going to find a mix of those on there. Some of those are not going to have reviews, and if they fit your budget, you might take a chance on them and you might end up having a good experience. You may have a bad experience. It depends on what you're looking for, but I always recommend that you talk to the editor first. The vast majority of them are going to show in their profiles, please send me a message before you buy the gig. That is because they want to get to know you, they want to know your style, they want to know what your book is about. There are also different levels. So most people are going to be in kind of that first level seller. And you'll see that they don't have any sort of ranking here underneath the name on this first picture. On the second one, you can see that he's a level 2 seller. So he's completed at least 50 orders on time with a minimum rating of 4.8. So you want to make sure that, again, if you're looking for more experience, you're probably going to be wanting to look for level 2 or level 1 sellers. If you are like, I don't really care, I just need somebody to do my book, then just go by a budget or go by reviews. Look at what their reviews are, or a combination of the two. So for example, this guy, Paul, says that he will be your developmental and content editor for your book. So I'm going to, and it's starting at $100. So starting means that that isn't going to be what the maximum cost is, because it's more than likely going to have additional costs. So big picture edit with a focus on plot and character issues and marketability. Here he's showing you a picture of what he's typically doing. And I actually like this. This actually shows some thought and consideration, because most of the time they don't show you like how they do it. They just like, oh, I do it. Awesome. And it's up for 100,000 words, which is a lot actually for that price. You have to understand that he's getting paid pennies after, if you take into consideration that Fiverr takes 20% off the top. And so if you actually pay him $100 and he gets that done in a week, he's making much less than that $100. So kudos to him. Average response time is 13 hours. So he's a senior editor and founder of Rising Action Editing with over 5 years of experience. That is what you want to be making sure that you look at. And then here you can see that he's got several different packages. So a basic content edit per the basic package for the second one, but with more focus on pacing, plot, characterization, and setting. And then premium is an in-depth developmental edit critique, including all perks with unlimited revisions, which is also not something that you'll see often. And he's getting that done in a total of 14 days. And you can pay him a little bit extra if you want to get it done sooner. Then you can go down here. Do you offer editing as part of the service? No. So he's not editing. He's doing just a big picture look at what it is, the flow, and what needs to be cut, but he's not actually doing editing. He has what genres, except most genres from nonfiction to erotica. Should there be any issues, I will let you know in advance. Does this differ from beta reading? Developmental editing takes place before betas see your manuscript, even before alpha readers. I would disagree with that, but that's again my opinion, and it varies from editor to editor. And as you can see, he's got a lot of 5-star reviews. Ryan went above and beyond. These are the kinds of things that you want to make sure that you're taking a look at and you're taking into consideration for your book. Now, this is a place where most people, it's going to be kind of a discount on editing. You can find it for very, very cheap. but that doesn't mean that you're necessarily going to get the best quality. Even if you're paying somebody thousands of dollars, on Fiverr, it is more of a discount price. People who are looking, this is their side gig, it is usually not full-time, and they are kind of doing it at their own pace. So as long as you understand that, long as you take into consideration those things, you'll be fine. And you can see that there are many people at this price range. I've started on Fiverr. That's where I kind of got into the developmental editing side of things. So it is a great experience builder. Just make sure that you understand and know what it is that you're going to get. Next up is ReadZ. Now, I was impressed with ReadZ in the sense that they are much more vetted than even Fiverr is. And this is because you have to have at least 5 books that you have worked on that have been published and are available for purchase if you want to work with ReadZ as a freelancer. Now, I tried to do that, tried to get set up, but because I do developmental editing, most of my clients are still in the process of getting published. So you want to, if you're going to choose ReadZ, you're going to be paying a lot more than you probably would be through Fiverr. But you are also getting someone who is vetted, someone who has works that are published, someone who has years of experience, potentially, and has a track record that is proven. So while you will be paying a little bit more for these people, it is a really good way to go. And I definitely would at least recommend checking it out and getting some proposals. As you can see, they don't list prices on ReadZ. Everything is a quote base. I'm not a huge fan of that. I prefer letting people know up front what my prices are. So if price is what you're basing things off of more so than anything else, then I would highly recommend at least checking it out, getting quotes from several different people, and then comparing those to others. You have to compare apples to apples. Don't compare ReadZ to Fiverr. It's two very separate worlds. So if you told, for example, Sarah Kelly up here, hey, your price is like 3 times more than that on Fiverr, well, guess what? It's not comparing apples to apples. It's apples to like asparagus. It's completely different. Kirsty here looks like 12 years of experience, and best-selling authors such as Brandon Sanderson and Dan Wells, which, I mean, that's super impressive. Again, if you're looking for a discounted price from her, you're probably not going to get a $5 edit from Kirsty. So have reasonable expectations when you're on a marketplace such as ReadZ. You are going to pay more, but the quality and the content that you're paying for is going to be a little bit higher than you are going to get on Fiverr in most cases. Another great place that you can find editors is actually on Twitter. I have interacted with many editors on Twitter, and it has been a fantastic experience. And if you want to try and get to know your editor a little bit and get a feel for their personality, this is a nice way to do it. You can find what their tweets are. You can find different people to follow. You can see if they're doing any discounts. You can see if they're having any sales. And you can follow them and just kind of get a feel for what it's like being an editor, or looking at people who are looking for editors, following people who are looking for editors, and seeing how those editors respond and connect with them can be very helpful for you. It's also a great way to connect and interact with them when it comes to asking what you need to do for editing. Now, understand, you are going to get many different opinions on this. It's going to differ wildly, and that's okay. Just make sure that you understand where you're at in your process. If you're in your first draft, or if you're in your second draft, if you're looking for a developmental editor or copy or line editor, if you understand what it is that you're looking for, It'll make it a lot easier to narrow down your search and ask very specific questions. Asking questions on Twitter is very, very easy. It's a great way to go, and the majority of the editors that I have met are more than willing to answer some of those types of questions, myself included. I love talking with and interacting with authors, fellow authors, and editors on Twitter. So if you're looking for something like that, then I highly recommend this. Groups on Facebook are also another way to go. And this one, the Edit 10 program for authors is actually one that I run. The group is designed to help people connect with vetted editors who I've personally worked with. And the Edit 10 is actually something that we in our editor group started, and it's a referral program. So if you come and you join this group, every editor and professional on here, because we also have web designers and cover artists, they are offering 10% off all first-time clients who come through this program. And it's very simple. You simply request and join, and boom, you're in. Now, it is a private group for a reason. No one is allowed in professionally unless they've gone through me and gotten a personal invite, or they've been a part of the editing group and they've submitted questions and they've acknowledged that, yes, I will offer 10% for anyone who joins the Edit 10 program. That goes for every single professional listed in this group. That's why it's closed. I keep a very close eye on it. Anybody trying to sneak in gets booted pretty much immediately. So if you're looking to connect to people who are offering a 10% discount, who are willing to offer a 10% discount, or if you have any questions, or you would like to just kind of connect and get a feel for some editors, then I would highly recommend you checking out this group. I'll have a link down in the description below for you, and I would love to see you there. We're just looking to try and help people get the editing that they need at a price that they can actually afford without having to go through a marketplace that it can be kind of hit or miss. The last way that you can find editors is simply by doing a Google search for book editors and looking at their websites. Now, I have an entire list of contacts. Most of them are a part of the Edit 10 program, but I wanted to emphasize that if you really want to get to know the flavor of editor that you want to work with, then you need to go and check out their website. You need to see what they say about themselves, about their products, about their services, to help you really get a gauge for what it is that they do. I'm not going to go through all the pages on my website, but it's to make a point that if you want to know what it is that that person is about and whether you think that they are going to be a good fit for you, then you need to make sure that you check out their website. The one thing that I personally recommend when you are looking at a website is to make sure that they list their prices clearly for you to see. I find it very irritating when people don't clearly list out what their prices are, because I'm working with a budget. I want to know whether I can afford that person up front, because I don't want to waste time going back and forth on quotes for something that I'm like, okay, that's way out of my price range. I got my hopes up for this. I can simply look at it and go, okay, I can't afford that. I'm going to go somewhere else. Now, that being said, some editors, if you're talking with them, if you really want to, some of them may be willing to do some sort of bundle deal with you. And in that case, you're probably going to get a little bit more for that price, and it may end up actually being better for you. So if you're dead set on working with that person, then reach out to them and ask them for a sample if they provide samples. If they do, then you provide them with anywhere between 1 and maybe 5 chapters for a sample. It varies widely from editor to editor. But if you can get a feel for them and you're like, yep, this is good, this is what my budget is, don't be afraid to have that conversation. We're professionals. Our feelings aren't going to get hurt if you say, I can't afford that. It's okay. Like, we want to make sure that you are getting the best editing that you possibly can without breaking the bank. So in some cases, editors will either provide some sort of a discount, or they may end up providing you with some sort of payment plan option to kind of help make it a little bit more spread out, so you get the editing that you want and that you really need. So those are some of the things to take in consideration when you're looking at their websites. Is, do they list it out? Do they mention payment plans? Do they mention that they offer, discounts for new clients? Keep an eye out for those things as you're kind of perusing the interwebs, and it'll make it a lot easier on you. So guys, I hope this was helpful for you. I hope you can see now some of the resources that you have available for you to be able to find the editors that you really, really need. Because if you're going to go a self-publishing route, you absolutely, under no circumstances, should be just publishing and thinking that your editing is enough. I certainly don't think that my editing is enough. I'm going to be paying for an editor to go through my book, and I do developmental editing. We can't see those deeper issues in our own writing. We have to pass it off to somebody else. And so I hope you understand the why it's important. It's not so that way you just produce a good book. It's that way you produce a great book, that you really put forth the best book possible. And you can't do that on your own. It's a team effort between you and whatever editor you decide to go with. So I highly recommend that you take time and be thinking about it, be forward thinking about it. Do some research, do some looking around, join the Edit 10 group, talk to editors on Twitter, talk to me on Twitter. I love talking with and interacting with people. Find out who's going to be a good fit for you and make sure that you gel with them. It will make the editing process a lot easier, and you're not going to regret getting it professionally edited. Thank you guys so much. And if you have any questions, make sure to post them down in the comments below. I'll be happy to answer as many of them as I possibly can. And if you liked this video, make sure you hit the little subscribe and bell notification icon down at the bottom, so that way you get notified when I upload videos. And I will see you guys next time. Take care.